Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Shahzadi Samra for the course of African Literature. It's for Master of Arts. Second semester, and the course code is 4117. So today's topic is again The Lion in the Jewel by Volsoenka. In the previous lecture, we discussed about the author and his the historical and cultural background of The Lion in the Jewel. And in today's lecture, we'll discuss about the major characters, its plot overview, synopsis and background, and themes of this play. So, major characters. First one is the Baroka. Baroka, he is the Balar Viceroyal chieftain of a Yoruba village, and he is also known as the Bali. That I told you, the term Bali is the term that is used for the leader of the village. So it was situated in the Ibdan clan. So he is a crafty individual. He is basically the lion referred to in the title, and at the age of 62 years he has already sired almost 63 children, and he is also the son. So but he is known as both the lion because of his strength, and the fox because of his cunning tricks. So at this age, 62 years, an older man, but he still performs impressive feats of strength despite his age, and he has many wives and concubines. That is why he has so many children, and he marries a new wife every few months. So Baroka is set on preserving his traditional way of life, and he believes that progress can be good and necessary. However, he believes that the program must be made on his own terms, and it shouldn't be forced on the village. So Baroka, he wasn't directly against progress, but he was not quite in the favor. So he was against the imposition that if the people like the British, they impose any kind of modernization over the village. So he was against it. Next character is the Lakunle. Lakunle is basically the progressive and absurdly arrogant westernized teacher. He's in his 20s, and he is a semi-literate. So he is a young schoolmaster in the Yoruba village, and he was educated in Lagos in a British school. So which results in his overblown sense of his grasp of English, and he wishes to modernize the village, and wants Sidi to marry him and be a modern wife. So in keeping his values, Lakunle refuses to pay Sidi's bride price, and instead tries to woo her with flowery language and biblical references. So he speaks about the village life and custom as though he finds them abhorrent, and though he doesn't seem to enjoy the village dance performances as well. So we can say that Baroka, he was the traditional person. He was more accustomed to his traditions, and Lakunle, he was more accustomed to the Western behavior. So the reason is that Lakunle was not as financially as good as Baroka. So in order to sustain his reputation in the society, he just manipulates things. He just manipulates different traditions by saying that by being a Western person. Instead, we may say that he was just trying to save his prestige by being Western. So the next is sorry, Sidi. Sidi, she is the beautiful yet somewhat egoistical village girl, and she's wooed by Baroka, the leader, and the Lukunle, the school teacher. And she was also the village ballet. She was the beauty of the village. And she is actually the jewel in the title. She is very beautiful and is acutely aware of the fact that she is beautiful. Is when one stranger photographer returns to the village with a magazine of photographs that show Sidi in all her glory, and it was on the page of any magazine where she saw her photographs. And since seeing the photographs, it makes Sidi obsessed with her own image and gives her an exaggerated sense of power over man. Both Lakunle and Broca, they wish to marry Sidi, but she doesn't doesn't act particularly interested in marrying either of them. Like she thinks of Baroka as too old, and Lakunle insults her. Lakunle degrades her by calling her dumb or referring to her as a bush girl. So, however, she indicates that she supports her traditional way of life by implying that she would marry the man who would pay her bride price. So, or no matter how much Lukunle try to try to convince Sidi that about the negativity of the bride price, but she was convinced that I would marry the person whosoever will pay my bride price, higher bride price. So we see in the future discussion that what is the importance of the bride price in the African literature. So the next character is the Sadiku. Sadiku is basically the wife of Baroka. She's a great wife, or you may say the chiefess of his harem. Means all the concubines and the other wives of Baroka were under Sadiku supervision. So what she was like, Sadiku, she is very loyal to her husband, and she spends her time as acting as a matchmaker to find him new brides and concubines. Her devotion is not blind and unwavering, however. When Baroka confides in Sadiku, whatever, just please excuse the pronunciation, as these are the African words. So when Baroka confides in that his manhood is gone, she is thrilled to have squashed her husband and scored a victory for all women over men. So since she is the first wife, traditional values give her a degree of power, and she fears progress and modernity as well. The reason for the fear of progress and modernity is that they can also lose their reputation and power if the people become modernized. So the next character is the Alatu, the wife of Baroka, and she is her favorite wife, and she loses her place and loses affection Baruka's affection due to her jealousy. So now I would move on to the plot overview of this uh, play. Interesting thing is this play is completed in a day. Like it takes place over the span of the day that is Sunday, and it is divided into three parts: morning, noon, and night. So the start from where it begins, that is the time of the morning, and in the first scene we meet schoolmaster Lakunle outside the village school, who is trying to woo Sidi, and she resists his advances, saying that she'll not marry him until he agrees to pay the bride price. Lakunle, who has great designs to modernize the village, tries to explain that this is an outdated practice. He was against the bride price, and that he doesn't want to buy her like a cow. He tries to kiss her, but she doesn't like it, and he calls her a bush girl and a savage out of anger. As they argue, a group of villagers arrive and tell them that the stranger with the camera has returned. A photographer, basically the stranger is. In an elaborate dance and music act, they together reenact the stranger's first visit to the village sometime earlier, during which she took numerous photographs of Sidi. So the stranger that returned to the arrived in the village is basically the stranger who visited this place before a time ago, and at that time he took photographs of Sidi and other photographs of the village. So and they told this story while performing an act. So there here comes the importance of dancing, singing, and acting in the African culture. So now he has brought those pictures of photographs with him. He brought a glossy magazine where Sidi's beauty is celebrated in large photos, and Sidi teases Lakunle that she'll now marry him now that she's famous, and she's delighted with the glamorous photographs, and cannot stop looking at her. So the old the Baruka is he was also in the magazine, and like Baruka, he was shown in the magazine, and this act ends at a point, the morning, when he confesses his likeness after seeing this popularity in the magazine. He told her wife Sadiku that he wants to marry Sidi, and then there comes the known scene when he sends his wife Sudoku to ask for Sidi's hand, and it's a great honor, but Sidi refuses, drunk with self-love, as she knew that she is now famous. So Sadiku says Broka would like to invite her to house for a party in her honor, but she refuses this offer too, saying she knows only too well that the likely fate of young girls who have supper with Baruka means they ended up marrying Baruka. So Lakunle overhears the conversation and tries to dissuade Sidi, and Sidi from going, and he knows Baruka's reputation as a womanizer and offers to tell a story illustrating his villainous. So The story of Broca and the railway is vividly told in song and mime and acted out before the villagers. So we see that in the meanwhile, he was Baroka. He was lying in. He was lounging in his home and surrounded by his other wives and. Another reason for the refusal that Sidi says that he is too old now to be married. So at that moment when he was lounging with his other wives, the Sidioku enters and she declares and tells that Sidi had refused his proposal because he is too old. And Broca seems saddened, and with the resignation to he confesses to Sidiku that he has become important now. Important means he has lost his manliness, so he has become weak. So at this point, the scene of the noon scene, it ends. So the next comes the night. When he told her this, Sadiku can't believe her ears. Have the woman finally defeated the man, old man? She was just surprised, and there was a feeling of victory. So unable to keep Broca's confession to herself, she celebrates with a dance, and on behalf of all women in this village. Sidi arrives, and when Sidiku tells her news, Sidi decides to go to supper. So to enjoy Broca's humiliation, safe in the assumption that he is incapable of seducing her. So and she decides to go there to deceive him and pretending to accept his offer. Meanwhile, Lakunle, he also finds out about Broca's importance, and he believes that he was just pretending. So Lakunle sees her go and is momentarily angry, but he is soon lost in reverie over the great technological changes that will take place in the village. So when she arrives at Broca's house, he was engaged in the wrestling competition and ignores her at first. So Sidi is so engrossed in the wrestling that she initially forgets her original intention for coming there, but she soon starts prodding and teasing the old man, asking about his wives. So Broca is aware of what she is doing and uses his status and gravity to destabilize the impertinent young woman. So the two continue their verbal sparring until Broca shows her a stamp making machine, tempting her with the idea that he will print thousands of stamps or and pictures of CD as it was posted on the magazine, and he just traps Broca by talking about her popularity, and because he knew that CD is egoistical and she really cares, and she will fall for popularity or fame. So Broca takes advantage of her silence by flattering her until she cannot resist his advances anymore. So what happens that as she was trapped and and he just kind of rapes her. So at the market, when Lakunle and Sudoku, they were waiting for CD to come back, Lakunle is agonizing, getting angry over CD's long absence. convinced that Broca has killed her. As they wait, a group of mummers arrive. Lakunli realizes Sadako has told them about Broca's importance and chastises her. So throughout the performers, Lakunle and Sadako, they continue to bicker. They were talking about it. Suddenly, she arrives. Uh, and she was out of breath, and she was sobbing and crying violently. So at the first they cannot get a word out of her, but soon they understood what had happened. So Siddhi tells them that Broca's importance but was nothing but a lie. So a strategy to get Siddhi to visit him. Lakunli is distraught and asks Siddhi if she's still a maid, means virgin. So to which she answers that she's not. At first Lakunli is horrified, but then he offers Siddhi to marry him no matter what. So as he says this, Siddhi rushes off, means he exits without hurry, without saying a word. So and this makes Lakunle thinks Lakunle was pleased with his own generosity in offering to marry a fallen woman, and also with the fact that he now has an even better reason not to pay the bride price. The reason for paying the bride price was that it shows that the woman is virgin. So if someone doesn't pays the bride price of any bride, it depicted that that woman is not virgin. And Siddhi, he didn't want his village people to think that, and that is why she was strict to her traditions. So Lakunle was now happy, as Lakunle was also Lakunle just couldn't afford her bride price. So he was now happy that he didn't have to pay now. So Sadiko reports that Siddhi has gone to prepare herself for a wedding, and Lakunle is surprised at how quickly it's happening. So Siddhi appears in full wedding outfit and looking radiant, and she gives him the magazine with the pictures and tells Lakunle that she's not marrying him, but she is marrying Baruka. So the still fierce lion, who is more fitting partner from woman of her spirit. Lakunli is upset, but as soon as the wedding festivities commence, he begins dancing with another woman and has just soon forgets about the Siddhi. So the reason for Siddhi not to marry Lakunle was that she didn't think of him as the the passionate person or the strong, as compared to the Baroka. He was in every sense lower. So that was the story of this play or drama. It is most of a play, and so basically the two main characters and three main characters, protagonist, antagonist. And what kind of, as Lakunle was presenting modern character, and Gambroka was presenting traditional one, and Siddhi the hybrid one, who was confused between both, neither accepting any of them. So now move towards the major themes. The first one is the traditional versus modernity. Tradition versus modernity. Then gender biasness or marginal man versus woman. Then there's a conflict between education and tradition. Marriage, power, bride price, trickery or language. So let's discuss the first one, tradition versus modernization or modernity. Apart from theme, this the tradition versus modernity, it does come under the category of a conflict. So we'll also discuss in that context as well in the coming lectures. So as theme, it is as a Yoruba village, it was stuck in the past, and the villagers they were adhered to their traditional roles and beliefs, despite the fact that larger cities such as the capital of Lagos have modernized. So Lakunle represents the desire for modernization, and he has been educated in the British school in Lagos. And admires a Western modern lifestyle, including railways, civilized dining, and gender equality. So, in contrast, Baruka, the village chief or Bale, he represents the cultural tradition. He represents the traditional side of the Yoruba. So, on the surface, he seems averse to modernization, but as the play progresses, it becomes clear that Broca is only interested in modernization that directly benefits him. So, embraces the stamp machine because it will make him money, for example, but rejects the railroad because it would benefit everyone. So he was he didn't think of the greater good. He was just he always thought of the personal benefits. So the push and pull between the tradition and modernization, it can clearly be seen in the dwelling marriage proposal as well. So they both wanted to marry Sidi, but for different reasons. Lekunle hopes Sidi will be his marital equal, and he wants a wife to walk beside you in the street, side by side and arm in arm. He wants a European lifestyle wife with stretched hair and red paint on her lips, so who kisses him passionately on the mouth. In short, Lakunle wants a wife who symbolizes his modernization and as such. But Sidi refuses, and he also refuses to pay Sidi's bride price. And on the other hand, Broca wants to marry Sidi because she is beautiful and popular. As a village chief, he longs to add to his harem of wives and concubines, improving his masculine strength by taming beautiful, elusive women, just as he hunts dangerous wild animals in the jungle. So, at the end of the play, Sidi, the jewel, who symbolizes Nigeria's innate beauty, chooses Baroka over Lakunle. And if audiences view the lion and the jewel as a fable of Nigeria, 1960s Nigeria, Broka represents traditional village control, and Lakunle represents British colonial control. So, in choosing Baroka, Soenka appears to be making a clear argument for preserving cultural tradition. Yet, when the audiences remember that Baroka raped Sidi before her choice, so it becomes clear that neither tradition nor modernization is a better choice. So, when the Nigerian people cannot choose for themselves, for Soenka and Sidi being forced one way or the other tarnishes the country's natural beauty and resilience. So that is how the clash between in culture and tradition represented. Soankar has represented. So the next one is the gender biasness, man versus woman. The line in Jewel focuses on the competition between two people who want to win Sidi's hand in marriage. So, which makes the play, in a sense, a battle of sexes. As such, the play asks a number of questions about the nature of each gender's power. So why men or women are powerful, how they become powerful in the first place, and how they either maintain or lose that power. So men who fight for Siddhi see her only as a beautiful prize to be won. Baroka and Lakunle both value Siddhi for no more than her beauty and virginity. So meanwhile, the man in the lion and the jewel are valued by others based on what they can do or have or already have or done. So Lakunle, for example, values himself because he is educated, and he seeks to bring education, modernity and Christianity to the village, while Baroka values derives from his role as the chief of the village and his responsibilities to keep his people safe and build his image by taking many wives and fathering many children. So to both, Siddhi is basically a jewel for about which they were fighting. So it means that if they were only thinking of her as a jewel, it means they didn't give her any respect as a woman. So and the women were marginalized, like they as Baroka, who just forcibly got married to Siddhi, and he had many concubines and wives as well. So it was the for the prestige of a man that if a man can have more wives, it means he is the respected man, as a conco in the a conco in the Things Fall Apart. And the women didn't have any respect as a women, as being women, or any kind of contribution in the society. So the marriage and gender bias both are somehow the relevant ones. And it was also like having more wives also a way of having power. So the women, they were being marginalized. They were doubly marginalized. They were marginalized by the colonizers, and they were marginalized by their own men as well. So this creates gender biasness in the work. And then comes the conflict between education and tradition. Sorry, one point I forgot to mention about the gender biasness is that they in that traditional society, they think of women as the property, they could be bought or sold. So the modernist in the play Lakunle, he also portrays this sect by downgrading the Siddhi and calling her as a bush girl or savage. So but on the other hand, he also wanted to marry her, and he offered her marriage proposal even after she lost her virginity, and just to make her feel low. So that is another point in it. And there is a conflict between education and tradition. So the educated people, they seek to transmit knowledge to the traditionalists who are not civilized, so as for them to be modern and live a life of civilization. But the traditionalists are stubborn, and they do not see any importance in receiving knowledge, since they do not need it in their daily lives. As Baroka, he was quite, although he was traditionalist, but he was quite stubborn. he didn't let people gain modern knowledge, and on the other hand, the Lakunle, he wanted his village to be progressed, but the both they one was one was trying for progress, and the other was trying to preserve the traditions. So there comes the conflict between the education and tradition. And even in there is an example in the Things Fall Apart, that when they were asked to send their children to learn English, they didn't accept this. So the same is the cases in this play. So the next one is the marriage. Gender biasness, marriage and power, these are relevant to each other, and the bride price. In fact, everything is relevant to the other, they are linked. So the Lakunle's presentation of marriage differs from the Baruka's traditional view, so which is purely functional and completely devoid of romance. And in Baruka's view, marriage is a contract that primarily benefits the man. So he marries the wife of his choice, she bears him children, maintains his house, grooms him, and cooks for him. So the woman has very little agency. She remains subservient, means she remains subjugated to man, and who makes most of the household decisions. So men are free to pursue education and jobs, but women are not. So when Siddhi tries to exert agency in her own decisions, rejecting Baruka, demanding a bride price, men try to take her by force. Baruka rapes Siddhi, and Lakunle offers to marry her without a bride price. And suggesting that no one else would marry her now that she is spoiled. So it means that if the Lion and the Jewel is meant to be read as a fable about civil colonization, Baruka represents the traditional village culture and Lakunle represents colonial culture. Means post-colonial literature often deals with the themes of hybridity and otherness as decolonized people struggle to identify their culture. So the push and pull between Baruka and Lakunle represents the dangers of forcing people to identify. So rather, Soyinka sends the message that to be powerful, people should be allowed to choose their own fate. So that is another theme in this, and I told you the importance of the bride price, that why it was important in the African culture. And then comes the trickery language. As the African fables traditionally include an archetypal trickster character, one that bends or breaks rules to get what they want. So tricksters may use their wiles to survive dangerous situation or to impart a moral or lessons to the audiences. And Soyinka he represents Baruka as trickster. He lies to Sidiku about his importance, knowing that his wife would spread the gossip. So thus disarming Siddhi and allowing him to make his advances on her. So Siddhi attempts to be a trickster when she travels to Baruka's house to shame him, hoping to expand the sense of power her photographs first introduced. So unfortunately, her attempted trickery results in her rape. So Sidiku wants to make a marital match between Siddhi and Baruka to maintain her position of power among the wives and to ensure she isn't pulled back into the demeaning jobs such as the plucking armpits of Baroka and other households for which the new wives are reserved. On the surface, Sidiku seems unfaithful for spreading the rumors of Baroka's importance. So, yet in the scene, previous Baroka praises her for being his eldest, most faithful wife. So, either Sidiku has tricked Baroka into trusting her fidelity for decades, or she cooperates with Baroka's ploy by tricking Sidi into believing the importance lie. So, at the end of the play, after Sidi reveals Baroka's rape, Sidiku nonchalantly responds, "Cheer up, it happens to the best of us." Before walking back to Baroka's palace, singing with Sidi at her side, this response suggests that Sidi, not Baroka, should be called the fox. So, both in some terms, the trickery or the language was playing an important role in the Sidiku or whosoever was playing with trickery or whosoever was playing as a trickster, they were doing so for maintaining the power over the other. If Sidiku was doing so, she was doing so in order to maintain the power over the other wives, and if Baroka was doing so, he was doing so in order to sustain the power. He already has power in order to sustain the power over other, and in order to prove himself that even at the age of 62 he still has passion in him. So, these are the themes that are present in the Lion and the Jewel. So, for now I think it is enough, and I strongly recommend you to read the text if you find it, and I have also put references. Okay, these are the references basically. Okay, so for now it is all, and thank you so much for your patience. Stay blessed.